think this team is going to be better than this last team we're going to talk about, the Cleveland Browns. And I think the Browns, they have talent. It's not even, I'm not even trying to be like, go up on my moral pedestal. That's not why I'm picking against the Browns. It really doesn't even have to do with Watson's off the field past. At this point with Watson, like, I think we talked about this last year, but he's just going to play. I mean, you don't have to root for Cleveland. I mean, but I like a lot of their players that aren't Deshaun Watson, which kind of frustrates me.
Hmm.
So what's your take on what they're doing? Because I really actually think their roster's good, but there's certain holes on the defense that concern me. And then also, not only is Watson disliked, but he also was really bad when he came back last.
Hmm.
So we'll have to see how he progresses now that he's fully back in the mix.
No, I agree. I like at this point, there's no real point in like moral high grounding it because at the end of the day, Deshaun Watson, like you said, he's gonna play. But I agree with you. He was not the Deshaun Watson of old. And especially in that first game against the Texans, his old team, it was a rough start for him,
Mhm.
which is what he deserves. But um I just a lot of people were counting on Deshaun Watson getting back into form, and that's not the craziest leap to take. But I think I mean, a year off from football, you maybe develop some bad habits for like your throwing and stuff like that. So who knows what's going to go on with that. I mean, I agree. I like a lot of their players. I like Nick Chubb. I like Amari Cooper. But I do agree with you. There's definitely some holes, especially on the defense, like you were saying, that are kind of a little worrisome. I don't. I think they have a lot of good players at certain positions. I think the problem is there's some positions that don't really have anyone
Mhm.
that's like really stand out. And I think that's their biggest issue is that when where they have holes, they're very big holes.
Yeah. Offensively, I guess what you want to say is Nick Chubb is maybe the best running back in the league. They
Hmm.
still have a really good offensive line. Jerome Ford's going to step into Kareem Hunt's role as that complimentary back. I think he's going to nail it. That he was really good in college, and
Hmm.
I think I've heard good things. I haven't heard things. I've read good things about Jerome Ford. So I think that's the run game. I think is going to continue to be a strong suit for them. Amari Cooper, he's Mr. Consistency. You don't need to doubt him. I think the X factor in the receiver room, people want to say it's Elijah Moore. I think it's Cedric Tillman as the rookie. We just need to see what he brings. I think People Jones and Joku are who they are. And I don't know, man. Elijah Moore just kind of pissed me off last year, being, well, my quarterback sucks, so I'm just gonna suck too. Like, I don't know. That's basically I know there's more to it than that. I know that's probably not actually what happened, but generally speaking, that's the vibe I got. Like once Zach Wilson threw one too many interceptions, he completely quit. And Elijah Moore was good as a rookie with Zach Wilson. So I just kind of didn't get that. And I think it also speaks volumes that the Jets weren't going to keep him around for Aaron Rodgers.
If he gets back to like how he was as a rookie, I think that's totally solid. But the problem is like Peoples Jones, I like Peoples Jones, but it kind of seems like he's really not going to continue to take that next step, unfortunately. There's a chance he does, but it's kind of like he's just kind of like flatlined more or less. I think Cedric Tillman, if Elijah Moore, does continue to kind of stumble, he's going to be huge. David Bell, I know the preseason you shouldn't take too much stock into it, but he played pretty decently. I think Cedric Tillman, I thought he was really good at Tennessee. I'm surprised he went as low as he did in the draft. I thought he was going to go a bit higher than that. I like the receiving room. I think there's a lot of young guys in there, but I think if they, improve, especially with Amari Cooper ahead of him, he's like you're saying, Mr. Consistent. He's always got great hands. I think Amari Cooper is really underrated as one of the better wide receivers in the league. So I don't know. I think the receiver room has talent. I don't know if this is necessarily their year because a lot of these guys still need to keep developing. But if Elijah Moore gets back into form and Tillman and Bell, they develop faster than you expect, their receiving room could be pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's the potential is there. I agree. I just I'm more confident in the Ravens and Steelers taking that next step than this team. I don't know. It's just I think the Watson thing is the biggest question mark because this is a guy who's a top five quarterback in the league, and
Hmm.
you would have said, yeah, he's going to get the job done. He's going to elevate all these guys, and I don't know. He's just a major question mark for a lot of reasons. So I think they are going to compete on offense.
Hmm.
Defensively, it's just strange to me because I feel like I know all these names, but then if you look into like what they've been doing the last couple seasons, they're not as good or performing the way you want them to. Besides, of course, Myles Garrett, who is a freaking wrecking ball, 2 straight 16 sack seasons. So their new defensive coordinator, I was talking to my friend Matt Mueller, who we did this pod with once last season, uh, talking about Jim Schwartz, former Eagles defensive coordinator, is taking over this job. Jim Schwartz's thing is blitz, blitz, blitz. He's done that for a while. He did it with the Lions as well. And it works at times. I mean, obviously, 2017 Eagles, it worked. They had the secondary to back it. As
Mhm.
Jim Schwartz's Eagles tenure went on, when the number one corner was Ronald Darby, stuff like that, that strategy didn't really work as well, and it kind of led to some issues.
Mhm.
So this front seven for the Browns, I think they're not suited for Jim Schwartz's style of defense. I think they made a lot of moves to improve the run defense, which is something they need to do because they were a pretty bad run defense last season. I don't think Jim Schwartz was a good defensive coordinator hire for this personnel. I mean, Dalvin Tomlinson, Shelby Harris, Okoronkwo, like these are run stuffing guys, and they're good, especially Dalvin Tomlinson, who got a huge contract. But I don't know. I mean, Z Smith they signed, Zadarius, former Packer turncoat, went to Minnesota, then Minnesota cut him. He was pretty good last year off the edge. He did have double digit sacks again, but I don't know. And then secondary wise, I'm not crazy about what happens when they do blitz like that. So I don't know. What's your take on this defense? I just feel like it's really uneven, even though you recognize a lot of names.
No, I agree. I think it's kind of like it's what you're saying, especially that's kind of what happened with the Dolphins. Brian Flores's his heavy blitz packages, when they caught an opponent off guard, especially an opponent with like a bad O line or just like a quarterback who doesn't release the ball too quickly, it really worked. But the problem was when it didn't, our secondary was not good enough. At the time, like when Flores was running the heavy blitz packages, and even last year, or not last year, 2 years ago, we saw some of that still as well, like Boyer especially they just ran a lot of like cover zero. And X at the time was like our only good like
Yeah.
a secondary guy. So like he couldn't cover everyone. And I think the problem is that they're relying on some guys in their secondary, especially who have been very consistent. Greg Newsome, not that he can't be good. The problem is he's dealt with a lot of injuries coming into his career. So he's kind of an unknown. Juan Thornhill, he was really good his rookie year for the Chiefs, but then he got injured and then he kind of just disappeared from their starting lineup entirely. And Denzel Ward, he's really good, and Grant Delpit's pretty good too. They're pretty consistent, but the problem is
Even
Ward's
Denzel Ward to me, even Denzel Ward, he's good. Don't get me wrong, but not the most consistent elite corner in the league, I would say. I
yeah,
don't know. I
and
think
he's
there's
injured right now too, unfortunately.
yeah, he's
So
dealing with
that's not good. But
banged
yeah,
up.
no, he's kind of up and down sometimes. But I think when he's good, he's really good.
Martin Emerson was really good as a rookie. I'll say that. He had
He
15 pass
was.
deflections, kind of out of no, not out of nowhere. He was kind of a high draft pick, but he was pretty good right away. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm Juan Thornhill. I don't really see him as a difference maker. And Grant Delpit was obviously a hugely talented guy coming out of LSU. Missed his rookie season, kind of started to bounce back last season as a run stopper, but I feel like coverage wise still struggled a bit from what I saw. I don't know. And then linebacker wise, Anthony Walker's back, which is big, but I still don't really like that group as well. So yeah, like I already said, I kind of uneven to me, and I don't think they're going to be able. I think it's the worst defense in this division. I'll say that.
No, I agree. I think like Anthony Walker and like even like if you look at like Taki Taki as well, like these are dudes like we personally recognize, but the thing is they're not like amazing. They're guys who, they're serviceable, but they're nothing more than that, which is not what you need from like a really heavy, like blitz heavy. You need guys who are like solid, consistent, and really get the job done. Like you were saying, Grant Delpit as well. He's also low and consistent. I think that's like the word to describe this defense. A lot of the players that they're really counting on have been inconsistent. JOK,
Yeah.
he was pretty good coming out of college, but we haven't seen like a lot of that like in the league yet. So I think consistency is what's going to be really important for this team. And on top of the fact that they also just don't have some of the high end talent you need at some certain positions.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they have. Anthony Walker had a good season his first year in Cleveland, but he wasn't that great with the Colts. Like, I don't know. It's just you're counting a guy coming off a quad tear who had one above average season to just be the number one linebacker. I don't know. I agree with you. I think our points make sense. I don't know. Maybe the Browns prove us wrong, but I think that's the whole thing with this Browns team is they basically are saying everyone outside is clowning on us and saying we're not doing things right. If they are locked in and they think it's all going to go right from this season, maybe it will, and they have talent. And I like some of the talent. I think, like we said on the offense, I think some of it will thrive, but I just don't see a world where this team is a playoff team this year, despite that talent. There's always these teams. I mean, Eagles fans know the 2015 Eagles are a great example. There's this team every year that on paper the talent is there, but it's not always just about the talent. So I think that can prove itself.